Hello ladies and gents, Jarek Defiler, the Patient Gamer here with something a wee bit different. I'm going to talk to you guys today about something particularly special and quite frankly impactful in my life. That is, my wife's transition. It was a long, hard road, lots of blood, sweat, and tears, accompanied by the occasional yelling session. There were moments of sporadic defeat, poisonous tendrils seeping into our minds telling us to give up, give in. It'll never happen. But with a hearty stoicism and a stubbornness and determination to rival the gods, she triumphed. My lovely little lady looked into the soul of her computer monitor and yelled with the burning rage of 1,000 suns, "I will not relent, for I will learn how to stop walking in a diagonal pattern whilst running into walls as the camera is locked to the ground in Skyrim while using a PlayStation 4 controller." And by God, she did it, ladies and gentlemen. She did it. It took time, pain, and most of all heart, but my beautiful angry angel transitioned from a complete gaming noob into an experienced, albeit casual, patient PC gamer. Here is our story. The time was 7 p.m., September 2017, the year of our Lord Gaben. I was sitting on my bed. The light from the setting sun peeked through the closed window blinds, shining its God rays into that dusty one-bedroom apartment. We could still feel that rancid Los Angeles heat seeping through the glass. The AC was on full blast, but the sweat still oozed from her palms, as it always did when she got stressed out. Slime Rancher was playing on the telly, and that brunette Honduran that I fell in love with so many years before was sitting on the edge of the bed, squinting eyes glued to the screen, teeth clenched, and copious amounts of expletives excreting from wagging tongue. It took hours, but she finally managed to keep the cursor straight ahead when she was running in-game. It was a time for celebrating, rejoicing, for this was only the beginning of an arduous yet rewarding journey that would see this woman become an adequate PC gamer. That's right, fellow gamers. My wife was not one of us. Sure, when she was younger, living in San Pedro Sula, her dad bought her and her brothers a Nintendo that they played Mario on, but ultimately that's where it ended, and she went on through life doing less important things, such as raising her brothers and sisters and moving to another country to go to university. Boo. But then she met this stallion named Jarek Defiler, and her life would change forever. It all started when I saw her obsession with Candy Crush. Her and her mom would play that crap for hours, lighting up their faces with slot machine-like graphics and pings and dings that would bounce off the walls, driving the rest of us all insane. So I knew she had it, the gaming addiction gene. She could become one of us. 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 She just needed a little nudge, and the answer to that calling was Hearthstone. Hearthstone is the perfect game to introduce non-gamers to gaming. It's fun, fairly casual if you just play against AI, and most importantly, it's easy to pick up and learn. So I'd sit her in front of my computer and let her play a few rounds with my instruction. The hook was set. Time to reel her in. Eventually, I put Hearthstone on her computer, and then she put it on her phone and laptop. After a few weeks, she couldn't get enough. She dove deep into the Hearthstone rabbit hole, looking up cards online, building decks, and neglecting all her activities of daily living like a true gamer should. I was so proud. But for me, it wasn't enough. I needed more. I wanted to introduce her to the world of first and third person perspective gaming. This led me to having her try out the god king of casual open world RPGs, Skyrim. But as mentioned before, ladies and gentlemen, it did not go well. Up until that point, she was fairly handy with a mouse and keyboard, not only because of Hearthstone, but her studies and school requiring it as well. However, I play Skyrim with the controller, and getting her to learn those techniques was not easy. Bumping into walls, constantly staring at the ground, sideways walking, and more told me that she just wasn't ready. So I had to pop her FPS cherry with something a little bit more subtle. In came Slime Rancher, the most casual of casual first-person shooters. I would lead by example, showing her how the controller functions and different tactics and techniques to use it competently, and to my surprise, she caught on fairly quick. It took only a few hours before she grasped the concept and was running around the world of far range with reckless abandon, sucking up slimes and building pens with only the occasional assistance from yours truly when it came to platforming across canyons and whatnot. After several days, my task was complete. She learned how to use a controller in an FPS game. All thanks to me. No one else, just me.
Oh, whatever, gringo.
Anyways, it was time for bigger and better things. It was time for my personal favorite genre, RPGs. I decided to go with Diablo 3, a decent introduction into the realm of RPGs. For those familiar with my channel, you know that Diablo 2 is my favorite game of all time. However, I am not a big fan of Diablo 3. I think it's a perfectly fine game, just not a good Diablo game in my opinion. Just like 4 to be honest. That said, there's a reason I started my wife off with Blizzard games. They tend to be very casual friendly. Their mechanics are simple, they're easy to get into, and they're just all around accessible to everyone. That's what Blizzard has pretty much always been good at. Diablo 3 is no different. And in regard to my wife, it was a game changer! Diablo 3 introduced her to the magnificence of RPGs. The stats, the leveling systems, the customization, the fast-paced combat and unique abilities, even the boring and uninspired itemization. She entered that world like a kid in a candy store, eyes aglow, full of wonder and a ravenous hunger to optimize builds for her hero. Being a business major with dual concentrations in accounting and operations and supply management, she would whip out her phone to take pictures of the screen so she could write down all the stats and compare and contrast them with other items, even if it was just a 1 or 2 point difference. I mean, what a nerd! Yet, I couldn't have been more proud. So that was another notch in the belt. The woman had been exposed to the glorious spectacle that is RPGs. Now for mechanics training, for this is where she struggled most in the past. I decided it was a good idea to ditch the controller in favor of mouse and keyboard, as that is what I mainly use anyway, outside of big open world RPGs like Witcher, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, etc. Things that you can just sit back and relax in. Everything else, mouse and keyboard. So what better way to train her than yet another Blizzard game? World of Warcraft. I wanted to get her into the third-person perspective, and it went horribly. Not only did she struggle, but the camera movement gave her massive headaches. So we put that on the back burner. Third person would have to wait, but what could I have her learn in the meantime? Well, we haven't tried 2D platforming or crafting games yet, and she has experience with Mario from back in the day, so why not dip her toes into a little old indie game called Terraria? Most of you probably haven't heard of it. And yep, that sealed the deal. She loved it. We played for dozens, if not hundreds of hours and had an absolute blast. Sure, her mechanical skills weren't top-notch at the start, but she quickly adapted and was slaughtering monsters and aliens in no time. After Terraria, we dove into the more chill venture of Stardew Valley. Always a lady killer, that one. My wife was no different. She loved the farming aspect and would spend her time there while I would do the dungeon delving and make my way to town to forge relationships. Granted, she wasn't too pleased when I actually married Leia instead of her, but she got her revenge by marrying pretty boy Elliot and his long, lush locks.
You're just jealous.
2D gaming was explored. Crafting and sim was in the mind and heart of my beloved. Time to move on to bigger and more complex things. So where do you go from there? After coming so far with so many genres, what is there next to stimulate the thinker nut of one such lady? Well, base building games, of course. And perhaps she was finally ready to learn third-person perspective. Just perhaps. That was the moment I stood on the rooftops, thrust the ram's horn to my lips, and blew the sacred calling of the game that would introduce my wife to third-person base building mechanics. Valheim! Being a patient gamer, I tend to be cautious about early access titles. However, Valheim was out for nearly a year on early access by that point, and it had gained a healthy reputation. Therefore, it didn't go against my patient gamer principles, as I consider early access to be an official release anyways. So Valheim was a great learning tool because it starts off very slow paced. Despite being a survival game, it didn't have ultra punishing mechanics such as eat and drink or die. Food is just a stat boost in Valheim, so it allowed her to learn without having the stress and frustration mostly involved in survival games. And she sunk right in, ladies and gentlemen. She loved it. She loved the crafting aspect, often focusing on building up a fancy kitchen that she would then spend her time gathering and hunting ingredients to make the rest of us a bunch of food, which she would just put in designated chests for us. She evolved from running away screaming at the faintest whiff of a troll to charging at them, foaming at the mouth with a bloodlust fueling her desire to get their blue hides. Third-person builder achievement unlocked. It was at this point I would embrace her, take her into the dark circle, don the Commander Shepard N7 helmet, and bestow upon the woman I love the coveted moniker, Casual Gamer. She had earned her place among us. And from there, things have only gotten better. In came the game that would pique the most interest from my lovely Honduran and all our time together. A sensual experience known as Risk of Rain 2. If I had to guess my wife's favorite game as of now, it would be Risk of Rain 2. After playing Valheim for so long, she was able to grasp the more fast-paced third-person controls rather quickly. I'm talking a matter of a few hours. Within a couple days, she was slaughtering her way through enemies like no woman's business. She adored the roguelite aspect of building her survivor up each run and experimenting with different styles and builds and the variety of enemies that would keep us all on our toes. She had a blast. And we still play Risk of Rain 2 to this day. It's probably our most played game. But there's one more to mention before I end this video. A game that left me cold in bed while she sat at her computer till 1 in the morning, unable to pull herself away. I was so proud. A game that would capture her imagination and pluck the strings of accounting in her brain meat that so relished organization, optimization, and numbers. Ugh. That game was Satisfactory. I mean, the game is Satisfactory, but the game is actually called Satisfactory. Creeping its way up my top 10 favorite games list, Satisfactory was a great one to introduce the wife to automation mechanics in games. This is a fairly new genre, really epitomized in Factorio, A game that I don't particularly care for but have immense respect for nonetheless. Why I don't necessarily enjoy that but absolutely adore Satisfactory? I assume it's because of the first-person perspective, beautiful handcrafted world, and ability to make hostile NPC beasts in-game passive. Because we don't play Satisfactory to fight things, we play it to explore and build. And boy is it fantastic. Not only was it a great game to refamiliarize my wife with first-person perspective, which she mastered fairly quickly, mind you, given her experience with third-person in Valheim and Risk of Rain 2, but it was just a chill experience that forged its challenges in using your brain to solve puzzles that you yourself create. My wife very much digs those kind of games, which is why she always has her notepad next to her when she's gaming, and she takes pictures of the screen with her phone to optimize builds and whatnot, much to my teasing. The God-given duty of a husband. And that's where we're at today, mainly playing Risk of Rain 2 with my little brother and Satisfactory when it's just the two of us. She's come a long way, this Honduran of mine. From playing just a simple card game to not being able to control her character in Skyrim, all the way to skillfully jumping around like Mario while wasting hordes of enemies and building massive factory chains turning iron ore into reinforced plates. My Bonita Bear has paved her way through the muck, fought off the doubt, and spit defeat in the face, arriving at the stage of her life where she can finally call herself a casual gamer. And at the end of the day, it's all thanks to me. Bow down to my infinite glory, for I am the Defiler, the patient gamer, the one who is... who am I kidding? At the end of the day, it was really one person that spent hours upon hours putting in all the dedicated hard work to pull this off. Lord Gaben. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for future videos. And let us know in the comments if you guys have ever converted anyone special to you into becoming casual gamers. Love to hear it. You all have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you are. This has been Jarek Defiler, the Patient Gamer, now signing off. Take it easy.